Aries, how are you? If you're watching this in 2026, Happy New Year. We did it. We made it. Let's put 2025 in the past where it belongs. For this January reading, we are going to take a look at the 2026 year ahead and just see what we need to know heading into this year. Any the major challenge that we will be presented with, as well as potential way to overcome this. Okay, so big overall themes as we head into 2026, and as well we'll be taking a look at what you should be leaving behind. But first, we're just going to get a card, just a one card pull, to see your overall energy as we head into 2026, please. Thank you. Four of Wands. All right. I really like that for you. It is an Aries card, right? That's that shadow there. Seven of Wands. Yeah, defending your home, defending your pillars, defending what matters here, right? Aries. Yeah, it's, I was going to say you don't need much. And I feel like when you get down to it, you really don't here. And it's about just priorities, making sure you're showing up for what matters here, making sure you're standing and defending what matters to you, right? Defending your home. And so really just making sure we're focused on what we need to be focusing on for this year ahead. So I actually really do like that. Not only are you showing up present in your element here, but it's the four, right? It is the last of the Aries cards. So it does feel like you are in preparation of something. You are moving towards something, and just being very intentional, being very deliberate on where it is that you're headed. All of these cards were pre-shuffled, but we are just going to do a little bit more here just to see. Never hurts. Yep, that Tower coming through. I'll do it like that. Okay. What we're leaving behind, a Tower moment here. Leaving behind a Tower moment, challenge or obstacle. This feels like enjoying your success here, or enjoying yourself, sharing that with other people, allowing yourself to kind of be content and express that emotion. How do we overcome this? By overcoming it, by making it a priority that we step into this and enjoy it, right? It feels like just being deliberate about your intention, being deliberate about showing up, and maybe, being a little bit more optimistic, Aries, as we head into 2026, right? Celebrating the wins as opposed to, well, I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done. And taking that moment to kind of validate yourself first and foremost, and be very deliberate about, what you speak into being, how you, even just down to wording things, right? Where you're giving your time, making sure you're not over giving, right? Again, focusing on what matters, being very intentional, and always coming back to where you're putting your energy, right? And it feels like we want to put it into, or the challenge is, how do we put our energy into a place that we feel good with, or a place where we can express that contentment and that joy, right? Two of Cups in the shadow here. I'm just taking a peek just to see. There's that King. So kind of on the surface here, this could be dealing with feeling limited in one aspect or another as it relates to some sort of partnership here. What I think this speaks on more for you, Aries, and the challenge for the year ahead is where, or the limits you put on yourself, or the limits you put on yourself, and understanding that, or working hard to focus on the positive, and really building yourself up in a different way, right? Not in a powerful, I'm gonna control way, but in a way of building happiness and joy into your life. Yeah, strength. Yeah, dealing with, not that you're not confident, Aries, but dealing with, themes surrounding that. Themes surrounding confidence, perseverance, not getting in our own way, right? Not having to save everyone or everything, and understanding that, we have to just kind of letting that, I don't want to say letting that wall down, because I don't feel like that's relevant, but it's this idea of kind of letting happiness in and enjoying where we are, right? And not just where we're headed, if that makes sense. Need to know, Knight of Swords here. So it does feel like this year will not be without its challenges. I'm just laughing because of 2025 and the year I think the collective had. Knight of Swords, I think you're always going to be tested. I think you're always going to be, just like in general, right? That's life. Could be more so than normal, right? This idea of people really coming and trying to demand more of your time, or perhaps it's just an awareness there, Aries, of how many people are trying to come for you, how many situations are demanding of your time. And maybe the lesson here, part of that is to kind of demonstrate to you how much you were giving to so many things, right? And when we try to focus it down to what matters here, we see all of the different distractions, right? When we're trying to focus on, the core things that mean the most to us, right? I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick shuffle here. And all right. Show me a little bit more about that tower. Show me a little bit more about that tower, please. Thank you. All right, so we've got the tower. That's the Four of Pentacles, Hanged Man, and the Four of Swords. Interesting. Consulting. Dos foros. Insomnia. Yeah, that sounds right. So the tower here, we have leaving behind. Yeah, perhaps sleep wasn't that good for you, Aries. Perhaps, just kind of this overthinking, right? It just engaging in that Eight of Swords energy here. Tired, drained, fatigued with that Nine of Wands. We're exhausted, but we're persevering, right? Justice hiding behind that. I didn't even see that hiding there. Libra energy, so you're a sign opposite. Taking a different stance on something. Taking a different stance. It's hard. It's challenging. Thinking differently, maneuvering differently, trying something new. All these things are what I'm seeing for you, Aries. Whatever tower this is, we kind of have to let go. The past is the past, right? How do we move on? How do we make our peace and move on? Because we can't change it. It's interesting. I'm wondering if some of you are equal parts like holding onto your past and also letting it go at the same time, and just kind of lingering in there, lingering in that tower moment. Like when something happens, like something that triggers you, you're almost right back to that place. And that can be challenging and exhausting in so many ways, for sure, right? And it feels like the focus, perhaps, and perhaps even your goal, Aries, you're aware of this, and perhaps even the goal here is to move away from that, right, and come into the present, right? Allow yourself to have that happiness, as opposed to kind of sitting in that mindset, right? Sitting in that that chaos, that bruise, right? When we're in that kind of fight or flight vibe. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and get some clarification here for that Ten of Cups. Let's see a little bit more about that Ten of Cups, please. All right, so I really like this here, just in terms of the challenge. It feels like you're meeting this challenge head on, which is really lovely. So the Ten of Cups, right? How do we enjoy? How do we find that contentment here? You have that clarified by the Death, Death card, the Fool, and that Eight of Wands. We're moving forward, and it feels like, yes, you're being, like I said, that Four of Wands, right? You're moving forward in your cycle here. You're moving forward in your next path. You're ready for the next step. You're ready for this new year. You're ready for this change. You're ready for enjoyment and success and happiness to enter the picture here. And again, it's not like I'm seeing or saying that you've been so humdrum all the time. It's just allowing more opportunity to let I just heard let love shine. Let yourself enjoy, let yourself really smile and be in that moment, be present, right? Really take that full energy and be there, right? And it's funny, speaking on that, kind of being in that moment there, I feel like the challenge is for you have some sort of something that happens, right? You attain some sort of success here, and then quickly you move on to the next thing. We're on to the next, right? Ace of Pentacles, on to that next. Hustle, success, right? And then on to the next. So it could be that you're not stopping to smell the roses a little bit, and maybe you want to, right? Maybe you want to take a look and kind of reflect on all the success that you've had to date, and just kind of revel in your victories a little bit more. Maybe it's that you're constantly feeling like you have to prove yourself, or right, based on whatever that kind of fight or flight state is. And it's this idea that okay, I did this, now I need to do something else, improve it this way, improve it that way, improve it this way. And so it's kind of this idea of like a scarcity mindset that's kind of motivating. And we want to get to a place. The challenge is really to move from a place of abundance, move from a place of having enough, of having security, and really just allowing yourself to enjoy all of those aspects, right? As opposed to just kind of moving, as soon as you attain it, you move on to the next thing, right? Almost like you have nothing, right? But if you look behind you, Aries, it feels like you do have. It's just you're not enjoying it a little bit, right? And again, kind of this idea of feeling like you don't bring enough to the table, when in reality, there's much to celebrate here. Ace of Pentacles, it could be that somebody is trying to bring this out with you, trying to bring this to your awareness here. You are successful. The areas that I'm looking at here, you are successful. And it feels like for some of you, even time and time again, it's just, we're not giving that the full weight And it feels like that's the priority, right? That's the challenge. How do we fully enjoy everything, all of our success, right? Let's speak on that Six of Pentacles in terms of how do we overcome this challenge here. I'm laughing because that Nine of Wands and the Ace of Swords came up just very similarly to the shadow of that tower, right? This idea of, you know, constantly having to prove yourself or constantly having to exist in some sort of turmoil here. And that's perhaps for some of you where you feel that comfort, right? This idea of organized chaos or thriving in chaos, right? And a lot of us are really good at with that, especially if we have experienced some trauma. We're very good at staying cool, calm, collected under pressure, right? And so once we are in a safe place, that's where we become uncomfortable. That's where we start to second guess. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting here. It's uncomfortable to be or to accept that security. And so how do we overcome that? Six of Pentacles, being deliberate, right? Being focused, being intentional, listening to our intuition here. It's funny, the World in reverse, it really, for me, feels like hesitancy, an unwillingness to, right? This idea of unwillingness to change this aspect, or a resistance to putting that kind of compulsion almost to prove yourself, or to let go of that that, for lack of a better word, like fear-based mindset, because that's your motivator, right? Almost this hesitancy to let that go, because what are we without that? How do we continue to have success without operating from a place where we feel like we have nothing, kind of idea, right? Or feeling like we have to hoard everything we have, right? Yeah, so it just feels like we have to be a little bit intentional. And again, there's an awareness here. You're setting the stage for all of this change to take place, despite being hesitant, being a little bit scared, I would say, apprehensive maybe. But it's this idea with this High Priestess, the World, and the King of Cups, and the World being in reverse, sorry, is that you know, whatever is happening, whatever you're trying to be deliberate about, doesn't come natural to you. And so we have to be that much more deliberate in it, and really make sure, really be intentional of what decisions we're making, and analyze their impact on us and on any cycles that we're creating. Yeah, it just feels like we're scared to be, maybe for some of you, you're scared to be alone. You know, you don't know how to nurture yourself. You don't know how to validate yourself. In some aspects, right? And we're getting very personal here, but that's kind of the nature of what this feels like it's speaking on. Very internal things, like deep-seated wounds, right? That have made you the person that you are. And it feels like we're trying to put an end to that and be more at home in where we are, and be more loving and more nurturing and be more in the moment, as opposed to I have the racking up the wins, right? Yeah. And that doesn't come natural to you. It has to, it's a learned thing. You're learning it. You're doing what you need to do to take that on, right? This is your new challenge here. And again, it's this idea of, well, you know, you don't need much, but what you have, you need to stand by it, stand in it, right? And it needs to be enough for you, right? At your core, I'm saying, like like I said, like the Aries that I read for, you're very successful here, but at the end of the day, it's almost like the amount of things that you have and the person that you are, it's almost like they don't mesh. And again, all those things can be discarded, and what you're left with, right, the core of you is what we're talking about here. Yeah, you're just very vulnerable is what I'm seeing. Very vulnerable energy, and it's just finding strength in a new way. Let's see more of that Knight of Swords here. Show me more on that Knight of Swords for what Aries needs to know. Thank you. Yeah. So this is your own path, right? And again, you recognize that nobody can do this for you. And perhaps some of you have been relying on others, too reliant on others. And there's an understanding of that. And it's almost like, well, we need to do this alone. We need to own it alone. We need to make it happen alone. And I don't want to say dependent, but just seeking validation from outside yourself in certain aspects, which is interesting because, again, Aries, you're such a doer, and you're such a self-motivator, but it's almost, again, like how you rack up these wins and you don't enjoy them. You move on to the next, to the next, to the next. You're not stopping to allow that success in. And so it's almost like you, I don't know, it's interesting. It just speaks to the need, or this kind of idea that what you do isn't enough, but you are enough, and you know that, but maybe you don't feel that, and now it's the time to make that happen for yourself. Because again, we have that Two of Cups, right? And it's you, only you can determine how you fit. Only you can determine what you bring to the table. Other people can tell you what you have or what you've done. But it's up to you to believe that, right? For that Knight of Swords, in terms of what you need to know here, clarified by Temperance, Seven of Wands, and that Five of Cups. Yeah, I would say keeping, I mean, obviously harmony, right? With that Temperance card there, this idea of whatever this Five of Cups is, this okay, it's how can we come to some sort of understanding and let these emotions in and feel that contentment, feel that joy, right, while still remaining grounded, and feel that security in everything that you've done and all the success you had and what you've amassed, without feeling sorry for yourself, without getting too lost in this tower energy, right? And I think when you're doing so much and expending your energy in so many different ways, it's easy in a sense to stay busy. But when you focus down into what matters and you're more deliberate about choosing to stand in your wins, even if it's challenging, I think there's some sadness there in this work that you're doing, right? In this feeling of not, whatever these insecurities are. And so it's multifaceted, as tarot is, of this idea that there's people that are going to come in and try to test you or demand your time or demand you get sidetracked, right? Or push you in one way or another. And I think there's a temptation there to do that to yourself. I'm done with this. I'm over it. Oh, I don't want to be here. I don't care. I don't care anymore. And just move on. Or even, when something feels so good, it's uncomfortable. For example, like taking a compliment or accepting a compliment. Oh, you look really great today. No, what are you talking about? Shut up. It's fine. What do you mean? That kind of energy, right? That's where there's a block there. Whereas if we just sit in that compliment and we accept it, right? There's a discomfort there. And there could be a sadness there, right? And so it just feels like there's a lot coming at you this year that feels more feeling than actually tangible. I think it's more of a mental year for you, Aries. It's more of your challenges will be mental and emotional as opposed to physically demanding. Let's see what else comes up here. Ten of Cups again, yeah. How can we live in that joy? Enjoy our family, enjoy our friends, enjoy, what we have, and share that, right, with those that matter. Wheel of Fortune. The time has come, it feels. Perhaps this is something that has been circling for some time for some of you. And so we're kind of like, okay, 2026 is the year. Buckle up. Knight of Pentacles. Yeah. Again, this idea of intentional, of planning this, of really slowing down and taking the time to ride this out, for sure. What else here? That's too many. What else here for Aries, please? That's too many. Thank you. Two of Swords. Yeah, again, it just feels like there's been whatever like this is, right? And it, however deep it goes for you, it feels like it's been something that you've been aware of for some time or holding on to for some time. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And now you're like, okay, it's the time, right? Let's do this. Four of Swords. Yeah, again, this idea of wanting to do it, but also not wanting to do it, right? Checking out. We'll take a rain check. We'll do this later. Empress, you know, being in the moment, being truly in the moment, enjoying, nurturing, loving. For some of you, maybe even giving yourself that, that the gift of nurturing your own inner child. Is there anything else for Aries? Page of Pentacles. The Sun in reverse. Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Swords. Yeah. Just feels like, you know, your 2026 is going to be about addressing some internal battles here. Page of Pentacles. Again, right? This idea of clear direction. You know where you're headed. You know what's there out on the horizon here. The Sun in reverse. It honestly feels like there's some parts that no longer fit. And so that's what we're doing, is we're weeding out those parts so that you can stand in Nine of Pentacles, stand in your glory, stand in these wins and allow yourself to feel them, right? And feel good there, and feel like you're not overthinking, feel like you don't need to prove yourself, right? Feel like you have that stability and that security, and that you have everything that you worked hard for, right? And stand in that abundance, right? Instead of a scarcity mindset or a lack mindset, how do we move to an abundance mindset, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. You got a lot of them. Princess, you can be your own knight. Tower, unplug and relax for a spell. Tree, let them go. Gray, endings are inevitable. Gold, you don't need someone else to fix you. Yeah, you know, all like it's all speaking on it. Spaceship, don't be afraid to sing, right? Whatever that insecurity or that kind of invalidating that you have been, and we all do it, right? It just feels like your focus is so much on that. so much on facing what you fear, facing your fears, facing what you think you lack in order to be so deliberate about embracing positivity, embracing that optimism, that glass half full perspective, right? Love is the most powerful healing force there is. I give it and I accept it without limitation. I help create a world where it is safe for us to love each other. I am grateful for all the wonderful things in my world. I express gratitude to the universe often, knowing that my thoughts are heard and appreciated. I accept all of myself. The work I do on myself is not a goal, it's a process, a lifetime process, and I choose to enjoy that process. Yeah, Aries. Some good stuff. We went deep. We went deep for sure. What a beautiful, beautiful year you have in store. I look forward to seeing how this unfolds for you more, and I wish you all the very best heading into 2026. We'll see you next time. You take care.